Hello and welcome to week 4 of BUA 384. This week we're looking at chapters 9 and 10. Chapter 9 is about accounting and cash flow statements, and chapter 10 is financial management. In chapter 9, I think the main focus is on trying to get an idea of an overview, if you will, of the accounting statements that are used in the small business. They're used in any business of any size, but of course, we're talking just about the small business, and all of these accounting statements apply into small businesses as well. I think you'll find that the discussions of the balance sheet, the income statement, and the cash flow statement are very complete. There's a very comprehensive coverage of what's included in all those statements in Chapter 9. Your task is to when you finish this chapter is to get a good overview of what accounting and cash flow means for the small business, and you'll get that by increasing your familiarity with those three statements. Again, the balance sheet, the income statement, and the cash flow statement. The purpose of the chapter is not to make you into an accountant, but it's to make you into a let's assume that you're studying in this small business course because you either have a small business or entertaining the idea of having your own small business someday. So you'll need some understanding of at least where does accounting fit into the big picture of the business that you're running. The income statement is also known as the profit and loss statement because that's the go-to statement, if you will, for when we want to find out the answer to that question: how are we doing? How are we doing in the business? Are we making a profit, or are we losing money? And you'll notice a lot of accounting terminology there: sales, cost of sales, gross profit, gross margin, expenses, net profit, those kinds of terms. And I think that's the level of understanding and familiarity that you'll want to take away from your study of this particular chapter. Knowing that the top line of the profit and loss statement is a sales figure. How much did we sell in our business in whatever time period the accounting statement is for? It could be for a year, it could be for a month, it could be for a day. And I think I think you might want to give that some thought. That again, assuming you have your own business, how often will you need information? How timely must the information be for you to do a good job of running your business? How up to date do you want your sales figures to be, so that you can then calculate your cost of sales, your gross margin, and your gross profit, and tallying up your expenses and subtracting all of those from the gross profit to determine your net profit. How much information do you need? How timely do you need that to be? In other words, how often do you want to receive a statement or prepare a statement of your profit and loss? And so, give that some thought as you become familiar with these particular terms on the accounting statement. If you're not already familiar with those terms. One of the other financial statement we'll take a look at is the balance sheet, and it's based on the idea that you want to keep track of what you own and what you owe in the business. So compared to the income statement, which is looking at profit, the balance sheet is looking at what you owe in terms of your debts. What do you own in terms of your assets? And you'll notice an equation there that's discussed in the chapter, that assets equal liabilities plus net worth. So kind of keep that in mind. Kind of the big picture look at the balance sheet statement is to understand what your assets are, what your liabilities are, and what is your net worth in the particular business. You'll see other discussion there about different kinds of assets, such as fixed assets and those assets that in a sense are serving the business for a long period of time, something over a year. You'll talk about your current assets. Those are the assets that are more short-term in nature, and that includes your cash, your inventories, or monies that are owed to you by your customers. So again, those are kind of key terms to keep in mind as you go through that chapter. But again, the idea of this chapter is to get a feel for what the balance sheet is all about. So that's one major statement, one major accounting statement, the balance sheet. The other one is you want to keep in mind and take a look at is the income statement. And the third one is the cash flow statement, basically a cash budget. What's happening to your cash in the business? It's again, think of the type of business that you're running. Think of how often will you want to calculate your cash budget number. How often do you want to know how am I doing as far as cash is concerned? And as you go through this discussion of the three financial statements, it'll also cause you to think about how they're related or how they're interrelated. So in a sense, we can think about a business that when we look at the income statement, it may have a very nice looking profit figure. Profits are good. We ask ourselves, how did we do this month? And it looks like we did pretty good. We have a big profit number there on at the bottom level of our income statement. But then we look a little further at the statement and we say, well, how did our customers pay for those items that they bought or those services that they bought? How much of our sales figure, which is the top line number, how much of that was paid to us in cash, and how much of that was paid to us in credit? Well, that's going to be important for us here too. That's the reason we look at the cash budget is because we want to know, okay, so we have sales of a certain dollar figure. What do we have in cash? Because it is from the cash budget that we look at the cash budget, and it's from that budget that we're able to pay our bills. So you kind of think of the cash budget as being your sort of like the checking account for your business. What cash do we have that we can write, upon which we can write checks and pay for the bills that we are due to pay. So when you look at those three financial statements, you'll notice that one of the written assignments for this week's Chapter 4 assignment is to kind of give a overall view, for you to give overall definitions, for you to take an overall look, and then to explain in kind of an overall way what does the income statement, what does it do, what does the balance sheet do, what does the cash budget do, and what are some of the basic components of each of those three financial statements. So that will when you're able to do that and complete those assignments and take the chapter 9 quiz, which will include which will go a little bit beyond those financial statements, because as you'll see, the written assignments are sort of a more focused version of some of the chapter topics, and the quizzes. So be prepared on the quiz to study as you study all the chapters, is to give you a good overview of that particular chapter. So study for the quiz by getting a good look, a good overview, a good idea of what's included in Chapter 9. And then when you get to do the written assignment, be prepared to focus on those three financial statements: the cash budget, the balance sheet, and the income statement.